2018 was one of the golden years of anime. You have the release of shows like Violet Evergarden, Reincarnated as a Slime, the release of JoJo Part 5, Attack on Titan Season 3, Megalobox, A Place Further Than the Universe, just to name a few of the shows that were released during that year. A lot of shows caught people's attention, but one show in particular only needed two words to really grab people's attention. Bunny Girl.
Oh my.
In case it wasn't obvious, Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai is based on a light novel of the same name written by Hajime Kamoshida, who also wrote The Pet Girl of Sakuraso, which is one of my favorite animes and is a show that I always recommend to people whenever they ask me for a recommendation. Bunny Girl Senpai would focus on Sakuta as one day he suddenly meets a girl, Mai Sakurajima, an actress who's walking around wearing a bunny suit. The story would focus on Sakta, Mai, and a bunch of other girls who are experiencing this thing known as puberty syndrome or adolescent syndrome. Much like a lot of people, I didn't read the description because only one thing was on my mind. However, when I gave the show a go, I quickly realized, oh, I've been clickbaited. The show lured me in with Mai in a bunny girl outfit, but I ended up staying because I was attracted to the characters. Not because they're good looking, I mean they are, but because the struggles of the characters thanks to this puberty syndrome. The best way to describe the story is imagine Bakemonogatari, only instead of curses, it's some kind of thing that happens to the human body due to certain traumas and experiences these characters have. Kinda like curses in Bakemonogatari. And the main girl isn't some crazy stapler loving psychopath. But they're both very attractive, so I guess that's kinda similar. To explain this story to someone who has no idea about Bunny Girl Senpai is something not even a college professor with 5 PhDs in sciences can do. The best way to learn about the story is to simply give the show a go. Much like Bakemonogatari, a big reason as to why I fell in love with the series is the interactions between the characters, in particular between Mai and Sakta. Sakta is your typical light novel character. He looks average, is blunt with his words, you know the deal. However, Mai's approach to these conversations brings out the best out of these two characters, similar to how I feel with Araragi and Tsujigahara in Monogatari, or with Hachiman and Yukonoshita in Origairu. The interaction with the other characters as well made the show much more enjoyable to watch. Instead of just being another, oh, main character goes and help other people with their problems, a Monogatari or an Origairu copy, it has its own charm to it thanks to the story and the character interactions, which is why the show is very well received by the people who watched it and is one of the best shows from 2018. The clickbait drew people in, but the characters and the story is what got people to stay. The movie Rascal Does Not Dream of Dreaming Girl, yes, that is the title, is a sequel of the series, this time following one of the girls, Shoko. In the series, Sakuta has this infatuation towards a girl, Shoko Makinohara, who played a big part in helping Sakuta with his puberty syndrome. However, not only does nobody know who this Shoko person is, Shoko is a middle schooler and not a high schooler who Sakuta met before. If you think the series is complicated, this movie takes it to a whole new level. While it is technically very easy to understand, because of how they explain the adolescent syndrome, it makes it needlessly more complicated than it actually is. This makes the movie somewhat complicated and might be difficult for people to understand, but if you are able to get past that, it is a very good movie. You get to see more of Sakuta and Mai, which is always great. We get to see how some of the characters are doing, and more importantly, we get to have answers to some of the unanswered questions that audience might have during the series. The movie gave me probably one of my favorite scenes in anime, a scene that made me burst into an unrelenting amount of tears, more so than when I lost a rate up character for a gacha banner. 4 years after the last movie, the sequel, oh god, Rascal Does Not Dream of His Sister Venturing Out was announced and released almost out of nowhere. Unlike the length of the title, the interest for the series have long since died out, with most people having already moved on from the series. If you ask me, the first movie answered most of the questions in the series and would have been a good stopping point for the story. Does that mean the second movie is unnecessary? Not really. In the series, Sakuta's sister, Kaide, is this typical little sister. However, she is purposely like that because of her puberty syndrome, which is the result of a trauma and bullying at school. While she did recover at the end of the series, we didn't really get to see more of her afterwards. Well, This movie answers that and provides closure to a story. While the movie is nowhere near as good as the first movie or the series and could easily be dismissed as a filler movie, I personally thought that the movie is worth watching if you are a fan of the series. It has more of Sakuta and Mai, which is obviously really great, and deals with Sakuta's relationship with Kaide, who is a completely different person to the one in the series. Compared to the other stories in the series, this one has Sakuta play more as an observer instead. Kaide's problems are for her to solve, and the only thing Sakuta can do is just watch and provide her as much support as he can. I personally like this take because it's different from most of the show that I've seen that are like Bunny Girl Senpai. Sakuta might be a main character, but he's not a miracle worker. This was something out of his hands and something only Kaide can solve for herself. I like this shift in the story, and because the story follows Sakuta's point of view, we are able to understand Sakuta's position in the movie even more. The movie did what it had to do and closed the book of another story, with it answering pretty much every single question that audience might have during the original series. While it did all that, it also introduced a new story, one which will be answered in its most recent movie. Why, hello. I just came back from the fan screening of Rascal Does Not Dream of Knapsack Kid. I nailed that intro. So yeah, I just came back, and hence why you're seeing me wearing the shirt. We got this shirt. Well, I say got. We paid for it for the fan screening, and yeah, I just came back, and I want to talk about it. So I'm not gonna go too deep into this because I'm assuming some people have not seen this movie yet because it is fairly new. At least it just premiered here where I'm at. So I'm not gonna go too deep into spoiler territory. But what I will say though, it is definitely a lot more complex than the previous movie, and I would argue a lot more complex than even the first movie, which I would say is pretty complex. This obviously all has to do with the adolescent syndrome, puberty syndrome, whatever you want to call it. It's basically the author going, you know what, I'm gonna spout some random crap and hope it sticks, sort of like the curses in the Monogatari series, only it's sort of told in a more ridiculous way but still kind of makes sense. That's how I view the puberty syndrome. It's very complicated, needlessly complicated, but as long as you understand it, it works, I guess. So in terms of like the quality of the movie, the quality is still the same. The quality is still very, very good. It is done by Cloverworks. So in terms of like quality of animation, everything is obviously really, really good. What I will say is in terms of like the story, I think the story is very interesting because I think if I remember correctly, we do not see Sakuta. Well, we saw Sakuta sort of like being involved in this adolescent syndrome in the first movie. It has little connection with past events way before the start of the series because it involves Sakuta and Kaide's mom, and that is sort of the trigger for the adolescent syndrome, which I'm not going to talk about what it is. So you have a very new story to sell to an audience in just one movie. And personally, I think it's solid. I wouldn't say it's the best. I do still think that in terms of the movies, still prefer the first movie. But I think comparing it to the previous movie, I do think that this is a lot more interesting. We get to see more of Sakuta and who he is as a character. A lot of this story is focused on Sakuta instead of the girls or whoever else because this is him experiencing the adolescent syndrome. Obviously, the best part of this movie is seeing Mai and Sakuta's interaction. I've said this a bunch in this video already, but they are my favorite couple in all of anime. I love Mai, I love Sakuta. I think they match each other really, really well, and I think their interaction in this movie was probably like one of my favorite parts of this movie. Overall, in terms of like objectively looking at this movie, it's fine for you not to watch it. It's fine, much like the last movie, much like the Kaide movie. It's fine for you to not watch it. It starts a new story and closes that story in the same movie. So there is no reason for you to watch it if you don't want to watch it. That said, if you're like me and you're a fan, why not give it a go? Because I do think that it is still worth watching, and it if you like the Bunny Girl Senpai series, you're probably going to enjoy this one. But yeah, with all that being said, this is definitely, surely going to be the last one because there is no way they're going to milk this. There's no way there's going to be a sequel to this, right? God damn it. Anyway, guys, thank you guys for watching this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.